So this is part two of a review of Warhorse. I think part two was the bit that really lost me after the break, where there was that really dark twist. I thought maybe it would turn up again, but generally I was a bit confused because the ending was just too much happening on stage at once. Everything was really just blowing up in my face with the sound and the booms and everything. It was too much in too little time. I think from there the ensemble scenes started to be less about coordination, more just this this noise, because just noise like as in visual noise, because it was just a cluster of so many layers, individual conversations, groups, and then you have the visuals and the lighting and everything. It was just so much happening at once that maybe it was just my position, but I felt like I couldn't be involved in the play because I was trying to pick out everything and I was missing out on other things at the same time. I think it was just because I had an overhead kind of view, and if you're just on stage right at the front, you can only see what's in forefront on the foreground, and then you don't see so much the background. Okay, so I feel that the second part was also a bit too long-winded in terms of storyline and everything. The effects, which were really good, they did keep me very enthusiastic whenever they introduced a new effect, but then they overuse it so many times, like the explosions. There were about 5 explosions, and after a while it did lose a bit of its intensity, and it actually has the opposite effect of just you lose focus, you know. Also, they had too many characters and storylines. I mean, we followed the horse through this whole platoon that we didn't need to. We get the cousin's story because, like, the uncle meanwhile sends his son to war because the son wanted the horse as well. And then the son is killed by Nazis, so I don't really get what the whole point of that thing was. I mean, I do get it, but I just don't think it was enough to justify it as being included in the play, because it wasn't strong enough and actually kind of lost you. Because if you have too many scenes, you do lose interest. I don't know, maybe it's just me. They also had this French girl and the German guy. I'll come to them later on because I felt the German guy in particular really bugged me. They had too many scenes to get the same point across, which was the futility of war and how the horses were killed even though they were barely involved. I mean, you had people being cruel to the horses, and they had people pitying the horses, so they'd actually kill them. So in the end, it was just a slaughter of horses and them being dragged back. And it was very effective, mind you. I mean, I did think that there were very poignant moments with the horses, and the puppetry was amazing. I mean, you had a living, breathing thing there. You actually had, like, some points where it was the horse very painstakingly, very slowly breathing, and you actually get to see it. And you're just very much on the edge of your seat, and you're thinking, are they going to kill that horse? You know, it's this very bittersweet thing of you want to put the horse out of its misery, but you'll also be responsible for killing it, you know? And they had scenes with barbed wire and with tanks and with cannons and with about cavalry and stuff. So they had too many scenes to get the point across, and about 3 monologues by the German guy, who apparently was an animal activist or something. This isn't, of course, to say that there weren't any good moments. And I will get to those later on. I just want to save best for last. And now back into the bad stuff. Cycles. Part 2 basically just started becoming this very long-winded thing of cycles. You had war scenes of people just going over the trench several times, or talking about going over the trench, or people in platoons, or blah blah blah. Or I Miss My Horse talk of Joey just going, I hope my horse is okay. And of course, it's realistic for his character. And it's again that thing of the character being very whiny, but very well portrayed as whiny, you know? Uh, I do admire the actor, but not the acted, not the character. Um, and it was kind of exasperating after a while because it was very much cycles and cycles and cycling, just cycling through the same scenes. And then you have a back in the farm scene where the mother and the father are weeping and discussing and debating and arguing about how, who, and why did people do this and that. And you have this thing of emphasizing the mother being very sad about her life because, I don't know, her son doesn't talk to her husband and that kind of thing. And then you have the German man scenes. Okay, now the German. I do not blame the voice coach. The voice coach had no. It's not his or her fault, but the actor could not portray a German speaker. The accent was terrible. Not only that, but this thing of alternating between English and German while trying to be an attempted realism, like a very realistic thing, did not work out at all. Not only that, not only did he fail at one language, in my opinion, but then he had to have very bad French and English. So it wasn't. He was ambitious in the sense of failing in multiple languages. Um, Sorry about that. It's a very pessimistic view. I know, but I felt that I got the point of his character. He'd always go on about monologues of of the futility of war, about people not being that different, about the horses becoming martyrs for a war they're not even involved in, and being forced and abused by all the sides. But I don't. It. I just ask myself, are they really serious when they get that thing? And actually, that comes to a theory of Mimi's, a colleague of mine, which is maybe how pathetic and powerless his character is supposed to be a reflection of the futility of war. And then I'd say he's just that's perfect. It made me go, oh. So it's just one of those moments, and again, I can get his importance. And that is part of this thing of defeating stereotypes and how people aren't that different, but it kind of fails overall the play. I mean, you have the mothers always caring about their kids. The mother is always the most rational person. I mean, you have a French mother hiding her daughter from the Nazis, even though, like, she doesn't even consider the good German as a person. And then you have the very naive child who goes around and goes to talk to the horses, and the horse Joey becomes like a bond between the French and the German man who rears her up, and then he decides to abandon the army and everything. And then they have this thing of Nazis, for the most part, still being evil until there's a rebellion. So at least there was a rebellion with the bad general who is part of the Nazi party or something, going and trying to go against the good German guy who took care of Joey when he was wounded in battle. And you have this whole thing. Then you have the dim-witted German. They were trying to defeat it, seriously, but there's a scene where Joey, very near the end, gets stuck in barbed wire, which was one of the things that the guy went off in a rant about, the German man. And the two sides are going to both help it, the English and the Germans. And you have this kind of touchy-feely moment of them uniting. And that, I did find that moment, this kind of, oh my god, how is this going to work? Because there's a lot of tension. There's moments where they accidentally would shoot at the other and still go, no, we've got a ceasefire. And so you have this moment where you think maybe things will work out and we aren't that different and that kind of thing. But still, they decide to go and see. Like, first of all, there's a language barrier, and it seems that the English person is the one who takes the initiative in seeing who gets to take the horse. They do this whole heads and tails thing, and the German just comes across overall as very dim-witted and going, and all the time going, nein, Kopf, and blah, blah. And he seems to be very misunderstood and everything. So I very much dislike that, even though I really liked the playwright's intention in that scene. And finally, when Anthony goes into the war, he gets this black sidekick who appears in the beginning of the play and everything. And he's very humorous, and as usual, he's the sidekick and everything. He's this, very comic kind of person. He's a joker and everything. And he just, and it's stereotypical. I mean, every play I've seen, I actually saw in London, for the most part, except for Crap's Last Tape, which was a monologue. They had a scene, and Tribes, because that was a family thing. They, for half the plays we saw, there was always a black sidekick, or a minor black role. I find that kind of, and to actually put that in war, I found that slightly unnerving. I don't know. Again, I might just be going pessimistic. Although, great actor, great everything, I don't even know I'm getting mad over this. It was a really good performance from him. And now finally I can cheer up and say the good moments, which are the ones that make me feel really happy. And it's already over 10 minutes, so I'll have to go quite quickly. Okay, whenever they pull out the big guns, like the really innovative moments, it was amazing. Like when they pull out the tanks for the first part. Ensemble scenes usually are good moments. Puppets, like when they had a whole cavalry there. When they had shrapnel blasts and bombs, and they actually had these pillars being descended very slowly onto the floor and everything. So that kind of thing. Although it was a bit overused, and one of the most heart-rending scenes was the dead horse scenes, where, like, you had some moments with dead horses, and some moments with nearly dead horses, and some moments with killing the horse, and those were so gut-wrenching because you had Anthony, actually, you could see in Anthony's face that he was making the decision of killing Joey. And he actually goes as far as giving up on it because it seems so futile after he kills one of the horses. And you have the puppets actually reflecting that. You have these racked puppets with like straight stick legs instead of those very elegant, ornate, mechanical legs that they had. And it really does touch you. And although I cannot commend this story for it was innovative, but it was very mundane in how it uses innovation. It was a bit overused. There was too much happening at some times, but I can definitely see the good side of it, and I know that this was an amazing performance. And I'm going on 12 minutes. Hope you enjoyed this review.